Okay, looks like we're on. Good morning. I am going to see if this is showing up on my tablet. This is a little bit of a new setup, so if you bear with me for just a second while I see how it's running. I did a live stream directly on my tablet a couple days ago, and it just did not work out real well. Let's see. So I can't just see that on my tablet yet. It's usually, I think, like about a 30 to 60 second delay, especially depending on if my app wants to work or not. So let me just close out of that real quick, and then I'll come back in. It's not been real helpful for me this morning. There we go. Now I can see it. Okay, so I'm going to go in and, oops, let me turn off my volume on that one. Okay. Good morning! All right, so today I'm going to show you my Creatuitivity weekly planner. So I will show you a little bit. I've put the link in the group where you can sign up to get these PDFs, and it'll put you on an email list. But the reason for that is so that if I have updates or anything to it, then I can send you that. So it's not going to be one of those email lists where you get hounded like every week. Let me see if I can get some better light on here. So, when you sign up to get the PDFs, you're going to get two different ones. The first one that's actually listed on the page, the sign up page, is the calendar squares. And in case you're haven't been tuning in, I'll show you what those are. These are some calendar square pages that I've filled out, but these are how you will get them, just blank. And those are for the creative part. Today we're not going to work on the creative part. We're going to work on just the weekly kind of planning, sort of getting the energy, the overview for the week. But that's the first PDFs that you will see on the page when you sign up. And the second one is for the weekly planner. And this is the weekly planner right here. So what this is it's printed out duplex, so it's two-sided, and you'll want to tell your printer to print it on the short side. That means that you're going to be turning the pages this way rather than the long way. And so this starts out with the weekly page that we're working on today. If you would like to just print these out and then just fold them in half, then you're going to have a little booklet. And this is going to be the first page is the weekly page, and then there are 7 pages where you can do a little bit more in-depth specifically for each day. So that's the booklet. If you were to print it out, I have some pages here. So if you were to print it out and you wanted to put it in a binder like this, what's going to happen is you'll print it out. It'll, look like this. If you cut it at 5.5 inches, then you'll end up with 2 little stacks like this. And what you want to do is leave the ones on the right side as they are, but you're going to want to flip the ones for the left hand side, and then you'll take the ones from the right hand side and put them on top. So that's essentially the same thing as if you were taking it from one sheet and folding it into a booklet. And I hope that makes sense, but that's because there's a little bit more, just a tiny bit more, I think, border on the side that's going to get bound. And I just used a little ARC notebook, so that's what mine is set in. So let's go ahead and just get started for this week. What the heck is today? Is the 23rd. So our dates are going to be October, and this is the 23rd, and I don't have a calendar here, so let me pull my calendar up. So it's the 23rd, and this is going to go through Sunday. So it's going to go through the 29th. And I'm going to do my planning on Mondays, so these are both Mondays. So, 23rd to 29th. All right. So what I'm going to do is just sort of go through. I've already pulled some cards ahead of time, so we don't have to go through all of that. Let me pull my live stream back up. Okay, so we're going to start out with, this is our weekly launch plan. So everything here is sort of like a space theme, rockets, launch, all that kind of good stuff. So I just feel like it's a really ideal way to start your week, is just to plan your launch into that energy. The first part here is the ignition code, and you'll see in very light gray print it says focus word /phrase. Lots of times I leave that blank until I've done a little more work and then I feel what the word might be. Same thing with this structural integrity check. In parentheses, you'll see core value alignment. That has to do with, my core values, and maybe I am working on like one more than another this week. Mission control briefing notes. This is where it starts getting into the intuitive portion. So what I've brought in with us today is this is aragonite. I also have like a grounding pad underneath my feet. So I like to get in my space and sort of get grounded, and this little crystal skull wanted to come out. And aragonite is very good at helping you sort of focus on the important things, so it was really great that this one wanted to come out. It's really perfect for a weekly planning session. It can also help you sort of see a little bit more clearly, like maybe your vision is a little bit clouded, maybe you have sort of a bias about something that is not letting you see the whole picture clearly, and aragonite, the properties of that can really help you reach in and get those. And is that my favorite color, right? All that seafoam color. So in this mission control briefing notes, that's anything that comes to me. So since aragonite decided to come out, I'm going to say focus on important things, and take a clear view, right? That might involve stepping back from some emotions in order to see what's really going on. And as I go through the rest of this, other things might come to mind, and I just sort of fill them in as those come along. So stars and numbers of notes, this can be anything like for the week that's maybe, an astrological thing. Maybe there's a retrograde going on. I don't know that much about astrology. Just look it up online. Just look up, a weekly astrology reading, like what's going on this week in astrology, that type of thing. So if there's anything with that, that's what the stars means. I didn't really see anything. We did just have, I think it was a new moon on the 19th. So that's sort of a new beginnings phase. So that works right into the same thing that we've got going on. 911, I've seen that number. You may see numbers like 911, 1111, 333, 444. Again, Google is your friend. Just look up what that means for you, and then you might be able to fill in a little bit more of these mission control briefing notes. So the other thing that I do is I have this Sacred Geometry Oracle deck, and I pulled a card out of there for this morning, and everything is just right on point, I want to say, but that'd be kind of a pun. But anyway, so the point card is a beginning, right? So we're starting out from the beginning. So along with the new moon and this card, I think it's new beginning is really what we're talking about as well for this week. This also, so this means look at your resources, and this is also, the aragonite has some sort of properties like regarding Earth's resources specifically, right? So using what you have, you probably have something, you think you may need something new, but look again with new eyes and figure out if you already have something that's going to work. A lot of times we get into this sort of rut of thinking that we need something else before we start. Oh, I need to learn about this, I need to learn about that, I need to get this set up, I need to get that set up, and that stops us from moving forward, right? So this is going to help us see the resources that we have, and this is urging us to just take some action. Just every, every journey begins with a step, right? So you just need to take a step. So it doesn't have to be anything grandiose. You're just taking a step in the direction. And planning out your week is a brilliant way to start that. Also, the other meaning that I feel like is going on with this card is that you may have already started something, but you might not have planned out like how that's going to go, right? So you're flying by the seat of your pants. You don't really have a plan. So again, here we are planning, right, for the week. So this is saying go back to the beginning, go back to the beginning point, sort of like run through what you've got and see if you've actually skipped a step, right? So this is a new beginning, planning. Maybe go back, if you have planned, then just go back and check your planning. Maybe there's something that you can see now that you couldn't see at the time. So now we get a little bit farther down, and we're going to look at the cards. So I have some oracle cards that I like to use to get the energy. These cards have different sections of them that are meant to be like physical, emotional, the chakras, whatever. I just take them as they come when I draw them to use them for this next section. So this next section is system operations, is what I call it, and it has physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. And what I do is I just pull a card for each, whichever ones come up. So that was the last one actually. So the first card that came up is this one. So this is financial and material changes. And you can even put this number for the card up at the top if you want. This is the number 5. So 5 is a number of change. So for physical, I'm going to go ahead and write financial and material changes. And this, to me, suggests, just these lines going through here, that you might be pulled in different directions. That there are some decisions to make. Maybe you're already sort of in line in one direction, and you want to line everything up in that same direction, if that makes sense. So over here, we see this green color, which to me is kind of a, the heart chakra, right? So that's sort of a, focusing on what the heart wants type of thing, right? The things that give you joy, all that. Over here, it looks a little bit more like some red and maybe some orange, which would be like a root chakra and the sacral chakra. So the root chakra is all about stability. This might be saying, hey, look at your finances and look where you're spending it. It might go along with the resources idea that's coming out of the Aragonite, which is, are you spending money on, do you really need that stuff? Maybe you're just spending money thinking you can throw money at a problem and it's going to correct it. So that might not necessarily work out for you. Here we have the purple. This is sort of like the receiving, the crown chakra. And this is going over the ring finger. And so I'm wondering if, another material change, even though this is financial and material, like tangible things, this could also mean something like about a relationship, either an intimate relationship or it could be a business relationship where, look at that. Are you open to receiving in your finances with your business? Are you open to receiving, helpful things? Are you, and with this color over here, the blue, are you asking for what you need, right? So there's a lot of reminders in this card. So financial and material changes. As far as physical, I'm going to say, maybe look again from the 30,000 foot view with your unclouded vision. Take the emotions out of it. Get grounded before you're making these decisions, and just sort of check in and make sure that not only you're making the right decisions for you, but also that you're open to receiving, even if it might not look like something that is, something maybe that you asked for. Just take a peek at that and see if it's optimal to say yes, right? So the next one that comes up, oops, this is the bottom one again. The next one that came up is rejoice and celebration. So if you want to put the number up at the top again under the stars and numbers of note, we can do that. And I'm just going to write rejoice and celebration. So I think what is happening here with the emotion is that you're getting so stuck on, making your to-do list and so stuck in the future that you're not looking at the present, right? So celebration is sort of things that happened in the past, but if you don't acknowledge it in the present, then it's really hard to move forward. So when you're celebrating, you're looking at the things that worked out well for you, right? And you're taking time to be thankful for that, to acknowledge those feelings, just acknowledging and accepting that, that turned out great is a form of being thankful. So you don't have to do anything, really complicated there. But celebrate not just that, some people celebrate that things happened. And it's almost like they're celebrating that things happened to them. And it's like, no, you created that. So this is a reminder to stop and realize what you created. So the emotional aspect of that might be, there are 3 people here. So there might be some support that you need. So I'm going to say gathering together with friends, right? With like-minded friends. Because not everyone, even though they're your friend, maybe you go out and you have fun with them, but they're not sort of in this, I am in charge of my own destiny, I'm a co-creator with the universe like you are. And so you want to get together with those like-minded friends and just celebrate how far you've come, the things that you've learned that have brought you up to now. And when you are in that energy, then that's going to bring more of that energy to you. All right. I keep picking the wrong one. Okay, the mental, we've got another 5 here, so we'll put that 5 back up there again. This is the throat chakra card. So this is all talking about, speaking into existence, right? Like, thoughts become things, right? But when they're just sitting around in your head, I think this goes along, again, with this beginning, like take a little step, right? So one of your steps, one of your action steps, you might think that that means, go somewhere and do something physically or get some, task done, but that's not necessarily true. One of your steps that you can take this week, apparently, is the throat chakra. So it's speaking something. So when we think about this in terms of mental, because this came up in the mental section, this might have something to do with, how you sometimes feel a certain way, but unless you say it out loud, you don't really hear what you're saying. I almost feel like this is going to uncloud things, right? So it's just like speaking to yourself, right? When you're doing your planning without a filter. So we sit and think in our heads a lot of times. Find a place where you can talk out loud to yourself without a filter. I think you're going to hear yourself say some pretty interesting things. This mental thing might also be that I think there's an element of this where you're bringing yourself down. You're beating yourself up, right? So we want to look at those patterns of speech, I think, is coming through. So when you notice how you talk about yourself, stop and think, would I say that to someone else, right? A lot of the stuff that you say to yourself is kind of ugly, and you probably wouldn't say that to someone else unless they really pissed you off, right? But you're so overly critical of yourself, and I think that this goes back up into the rejoice and celebration as well, right? And also the financial and material changes. So when you find out these things that you're saying, you get to put an interruption in there. You get to change those things. When you're speaking out loud and you realize that you have phrases that you say like, oh, I'm so stupid, or, technology hates me, that kind of thing, you get to choose to stop perpetuating that, right? So this is your chance to look at patterns of speech, listen to yourself, say stuff out loud. How does that sound? Are you your best friend, right? Are you building yourself up? And then the last one that comes out is yet another 5 card. So I guess 5 is our number for the week. So obstacles and challenges, but it came out upside down, and I think that's important. This is saying that there really aren't obstacles and challenges, right? So again, if we go back to the beginning, right, we've got our beginning card. If we go back and look at where we really are grounded, what we're sitting in, the resources that we have available to us, we can handle this. This is not a problem. The only time that the obstacles and challenges become a problem for us is when we have that clouded vision. Maybe we are just reacting to something instead of being grounded, looking to our core and figuring out, how it is that we feel or what it is that we want in the situation, and we're just letting that ourselves run away with other people's energy. So this is saying you yourself have the ability to deal with your own obstacles and challenges. You don't need to look outside you. You don't need to get permission. You use your own resources in the way that they feel most, that it feels most in the flow for you, right? So that's going to be not like making yourself do hard things. Okay, so here's something that's coming up right now in the rejoice and celebration. And when I said being thankful and having gratitude, a lot of people have like a gratitude journal, and they feel like they can't go to sleep at night until they write down 3 things that they're thankful for. And that's making a task out of something. And so we don't want to make tasks out of something. We don't want to make it harder for ourselves than we have to. If you want to think of whatever made you happy that day before you go to bed, do that. But don't beat yourself up because you didn't like write down 3 things, or because you didn't write any of them down at all. That's totally up to you. You do what works for you, right? So this is really overcoming obstacles and challenges. And I think that the reason that this number 5 is coming up, and I have a little red pen, I like to go back through, especially when I'm trying to figure out like what my focus word and phrase are, or like what values I might be focusing on. I like to go through and just circle things that seem like they were very sort of consistent throughout. So this, looking from a 30,000 foot view, and patterns of speech, right? So that you get to change, right? So this is the unclouded view, right? Overcoming obstacles and challenges. There's something about resources, right? So I think this goes back up here in our mission control briefing notes. Resources for us to look at. And now I might get an idea of what my focus for the week is, which I think is, how do we want to say that? Probably, I'm going to say, my phrase is going to be unclouded view. So that's going to remind me to take a step back, like when I start having a spaz about something, or I start reacting to someone else. This is going to remind me that really my phrase for the week, my focus for the week is an unclouded view. That doesn't mean that I shove my own feelings aside. That doesn't mean that at all. What it means is I'm not taking on other people's emotions. I am not accepting other people's ideas for what I should be doing as more valid than my own, right? And then the core value alignment, I think, my core values, my biggest core values are empower, align, and create. And I think just the word align or alignment is a focus for this week. So when I'm taking that unclouded view, it's me going within to look and see how I feel about it and what I think about it, and make sure that like my speech, you know, right down here, we're going to watch that throat chakra, that my speech, not only to myself, but to others around me, is in alignment with what I really feel is right for me, right? So down the side here, I have a little box, a little check box, and this is where I can mark which one is a priority. And I feel like, I feel like the emotional this week is the one that I want to focus on. Even though I'm still focusing on all this other stuff, there's something about celebration this week that's just going to bring in the energy and help me have that unclouded view. So I want to make sure that I schedule some kind of celebration, some sort of getting together with like-minded friends that's going to help me with that. All right, and as we move down a little further, I have a section that's called countdowns, and there's a personal section and a business section here. And all this is basically taking this energy and looking at what you have going on during the week. So personally, I have, you know, a date night on Thursday. So there might be something that I'm looking at in there, like maybe my date nights need to be more of a celebration, right? Maybe I need to focus on speaking to my partner about the things that are important to me and asking him about what things are important to him, right? So that's the only thing that I really have like on the calendar is the date night on Thursday. So this tells me that I really need to put some more in here, right? because this is all about celebration, and if I'm just sitting at home, I'm not necessarily celebrating, definitely not celebrating with like-minded friends. So this is something that I could use a little bit more, right? So I'm going to look towards that when I'm planning my week to add some more in there. Business, I have a lot of business stuff going on. I've got some blog hops. I have a, let's see, what else do I have going on there? I've got some challenges in my group. Hi, Sam. And in others that I'm participating in. And this really needs to be, it's interesting that this came up today because I just really felt that today is a great day for me to plan. And one of the challenges that I'm in today is actually kind of a planning day. You get points for planning out some business things that you're going to do. So I'm going to plan through December 31st. And maybe looking forward to January, right? So today's going to be a planning day for me, but definitely this week that I'm going to be taking those actions towards those plans that I've made, because I have found that I did take that start, right? I did start from the beginning, and I just started taking steps, but I didn't really have a plan behind it, right? So now this is going to be these numbers. Number 5 is a change. That's going to be, I feel like, a change in my business through planning for those things to happen, right? And lots of times we think, oh, planning, that's not very natural, that's not very in the flow or in the moment, but really you're setting your intention to be in the moment. So it's really counterintuitive to say that planning is not like spiritual, or that it's not, that it's like stodgy and not moving your energy. We're moving a lot of energy today, by the way, just by going through this. And sometimes you'll find that you really need to drink a lot more water, because especially with this number 5, a number of change, you are going to see a lot of transformation when you're taking those steps, and you want to, give your body, like water is a resource, right? So give your body clean water, drink more than you might think that you need to, and just keep things moving along. And when you are drinking a lot more water, you can have an intention, even when you're drinking water, that it's going to help you clear out, let's say, those patterns of speech that we talked about earlier. It's going to help clear out the things that you're done with, right? So it's a natural elimination process, drinking water and, peeing, right? So why not set an intention to use that for your highest good? And the last 2 little sections here, I call this Skyrockets in Flight and Afternoon Delights. So the Skyrockets in Flight is, I have in little parentheses in gray text here, it says fireworks on the horizon. So that's sort of like little goals or mini goals, or those types of things. So I worked with someone who had what she called a fireworks list, and it's kind of like a bucket list, but it's like exciting things that you want. And you just make a list of a ton of these little things, and then you start seeing what she called signs of life, which is, wow, all I did was put the intention that I would really want to do that thing, and now these opportunities are sort of coming to me. So when you see those signs of life, then you can put that in there for your fireworks on the horizon. Or the other way that you can do it is just basically to set like a little mini goal. Like, I would like to get X done by Thursday. I would like to, that type of thing. Afternoon delights. This is, in parentheses, it says decadence and indulgence. So I know Thursday, I want to take a salt bath. I really love taking Thursdays when I'm going to go out on my date night. I like taking Thursdays earlier in the day to just sort of like, just sort of pamper myself. I just really like that. And this is a way that you can, your physical body is a resource as well, right? So this is a way that you can be using your resources. You are fueling yourself up, right? So I just like to get really, I don't know, just sort of like, it's almost like, oh, I'm going on a date with this guy that I haven't met or anything, right? So definitely shave your legs and do all that stuff. And it just makes me feel really good about that I've put my best self forward for that date, right? So that I can be present and really just focus my attention on enjoying that time out. So you can put whatever else works for you. Okay, I'm going to tell you, I like Pokemon Go. So I'm going to go Pokemon hunting. I have a cute little bracelet that my son gave me. It's a Pokemon Gotcha is what it's called. And it like automatically catches them. So all I have to do is like go out and walk. So again, I'm doing something for my body. I'm rejuvenating my body, but I'm also doing something fun at the same time. And again, here you'll see my skyrockets in flight, right? My fireworks on the horizon. I've been really lazy and I haven't been writing down what I want to see coming up in my life. So there is another thing that I need to look at each day. And so I mentioned before, you can just use this intuitively, pull cards like I have done, or you can set your intention. So you could start this whole thing just starting out with your focus word or phrase. Make that be something that you have an intention of working with this week or working on, and just go and fill it out the way that you intend, rather than sort of doing the intuitive way. Either way works. Whatever way works for you is great. So these things where I have the plus, I want to show you the next pages that are coming up. So the next pages that are coming up are daily pages. And this is, if you saw my live streams on the 10 days of Creatuitivity, this is where I can do my creative square for each day. And I'll just go through a little bit of this, but it's refueling maneuvers. So again, that's like, what am I doing for myself? How am I starting my day? Did I do my morning ritual? Did anything come out of my morning ritual that is really important for me to focus on today? Your trajectory, your personal course and your business course. Again, these are very related to the personal and the business countdowns. This is where you can break it down a little bit more. Like if you had one of your little fireworks on the horizon, one of your skyrockets in flight that you can see is getting closer, you might feel that it would be better for you or easier for you to attain that if you put yourself in a certain position. So this is where you might focus on that, right? Same thing with the business course. The happy and fun booster, like I told you, like the afternoon delights, I've got a couple of things. This is where I might take from that list and go plug it into a certain day of the week. But this is also, this can just be tiny little things, right? This doesn't have to be like a, going for a walk or taking a salt bath. This can be just, like 5 minutes of, playing your zombie game, whatever it is that you do. But especially if you're focusing a lot on, like your personal and your business, you want to bring fun into that, because fun is where it really starts flowing. The time that you spend doing happy and fun things, there's stuff percolating in the background that it's like a synergistic bump to everything, right? So you want to make sure that you have these little happy fun boosters. Even if they're only like tiny things, I would suggest that you pick at least like 3 little things, right? Maybe it's a little square of dark chocolate, right? That anything like that goes. And down here we have the Sparkle Bank. So this is reminiscent of the Spank Bank, but it's not lewd. So what this is a place for you if you would like to journal some of the things that happen today. Like when we are going day to day, and especially when we have a lot of tasks to do and we're running errands and that type of thing, we might not pay attention to the little things that sort of flowed our way. Like we got a parking space, right where we wanted, or we left late for an appointment, but it turns out that, the dentist was running late too, so you were right on time, right? So those little synchronicities, those little happy things, this is sort of a way for you to just acknowledge them and be thankful. And also, if you keep these pages, then you can flip back through. Let's say you're having kind of a shitty week, then you can flip back through and look at the Sparkle Bank and go, oh, you know what, my life doesn't really suck quite that much, right? Because remember, like we have a little bit of a clouded view is what we talked about, up here. So this can help us to step back and go, oh, you know what, it wasn't all a crappy day, right? And then I have at the very bottom tomorrow's top 3. So maybe that's things that you didn't quite get to today, you didn't quite finish, things that you need to get on top of first thing in the morning. So that's more of the day planning. So I'm going to go back to the weekly planner. And again, like I was saying, you can fill this out with your own like wants and desires and make this sort of an intent for your week. If you find that you have problems figuring out what it is that you want, especially like when you were making these financial and material changes and you were, you know, building a foundation, the foundation and the beginning should be from your own I want. And sometimes it can be really tricky to figure out what you want. I have a program called Empower, Align, and Create that's really going to get you back in touch with the things that you want. A lot of people say find your why, but that's not going to give it to you, because you might say, why? Well, why do I want this? I want this so I can help other people. Well, that's not your I want. You need to figure out something that you want first, because you constantly need to be like using your own resources, using your own uniqueness, building from there and moving from the inside outward. If you're not refueling yourself and building yourself, then you're going to have a heck of a time, you know, building other people up. So you're like the foundation for all the change that you want to see in the world. So that's why it really is important to work on yourself first. If you have questions about the Empower, Align, Create program, then you can just drop a little emoji or drop a comment and I will get in touch with you, or you can message me directly in the group. And this is all I have for you today. I'll probably pop back in with some more updates for the challenge. The 10 Days of Creativity challenge is still going on through October 31st. So if you want to pop in, and over in the October 2017 album for 10 Days of Creativity, drop in some of your little creative squares or whatever creation you were working on, right? Again, this is, you know, using our resources, whatever you have within you, not only speak it to, you know, make it real, but, you know, you can practice each day, practice creating, just by even drawing a simple, like, you know, kitty cat face or something, or just scribbling some lines in some different colors, whatever feels good to you. And I will be back with sort of a point update with that, and that runs through October 30th. I think I said that. And other than that, plan to be back here next Monday, and we'll go through another Monday's energy. And I might pop in during the week just to show you a little bit of what I do on one of the daily pages. And thanks a lot for tuning in, and we'll catch you later in the group. Bye-bye.